Hello, it's your boy Davidoff. Welcome back to a slightly different episode of Movie Monday. Usually, when I watch multiple movies in an episode, it's about a franchise or a series of movies, sequels, or watching something for the first time. But this time, I'm going to watch my favourite movies from a specific genre. I might do more of these in future. One I do plan on doing is war movies, but for now, we've got racing movies. I do enjoy racing movies, haven't seen many of them admittedly. I need to know which movies to watch, to be honest. Like, if you're into racing movies, let me know, because I need to watch more of them. But the ones that I've seen, most of them I really enjoy, and I picked out my 3 favourites overall. The first one, well actually no, not the first one. The one I'm going to watch now I'm going to tell you in a second. But first of all, what I'm going to see after this one is Ford versus Ferrari, or in the UK it's called Le Mans 66. I don't know why they changed the title. That's some weird thing with rights, I don't know. But anyway, this movie is incredible. It's got a great cast, as you can see, Christian Bale and Matt Damon. This movie, for me, is incredible. I watched it in IMAX when it first came out. I had a massive smile on my face watching this. Like, I really enjoyed it. One of my favourite movies of 2019. And Endgame came out in 2019, and I liked this more than Endgame. Like, and that's saying something. This was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I loved it, and I knew as soon as I came out of the cinema, I knew I have to get this on physical release because it's just unreal. And of course, I got the 4K version, so I cannot wait to revisit this in glorious 4K. Amazing movie, love it, and definitely my favourite racing movie for sure. But what I'm watching first is Rush. Yes, Rush. It's about the F1 rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. You may have heard of Niki Lauda. He was a very famous driver, but these two, well, not these two people, these are the actors, Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl, but the actual people, also based on a true story, by the way. Like, this one is based on a true story. Like, if you've seen this movie, a lot of crazy things happen, things that you wouldn't expect to happen, but they actually did happen. Like, after watching the movie, I'm just like, wait a second. That was based on a true story. This actually happened. And this also actually happened. Not quite so unbelievable as the other story, but still a pretty crazy story. The F1 rivalry, mainly a season between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. It's an incredible movie, and I recommend it if you haven't seen it already. It is great, and the performances from the 2 actors were brilliant too. So yeah, I'm watching this right now, followed by Ford v Ferrari, and we are adding on Cars, the movie. It's interesting because like these 3 movies are from like different parts of my life. Ford v Ferrari came out in 2019. I'm an adult. Rush came out when I was a teenager at school, and Cars came out when I was like 11 years old. So 3 different time periods of my life these movies came out, 3 different stages of my life. Cars the movie, for me, if you like take out the fact that it's a kids movie, it's genuinely a really good racing movie. Like, it's got a great story to it, and sends a good message as well, for sure. The only crime about that movie is the sequels were underwhelming, and also we never saw Lightning McQueen win the Piston Cup on screen. Apparently he's won 7, and we didn't see any of them on screen. That's a crime, I tell you. Either way, the first movie was incredible, and it's annoying that they've ruined it with the sequels, but first movie, brilliant. Still one of my top 5 Pixar movies, actually. Like, when it first came out, it was my favourite, but now that the bias has gone away, I still think it's top 5. I honestly think it's that good. So I'm going to leave that till last. I do not own it. I had it on DVD, but I sold all my DVDs now. But I have got Disney Plus for the Marvel shows, so I'll use Disney Plus to watch Cars, and that'll be last. But first of all, I'm going to watch Rush. Let's do this. Also, it's interesting how this rivalry, the actors play Thor and Zemo in the MCU, and those 2 characters never met. So I guess you could say they met in this movie. It's always very interesting how Rush doesn't just tell you the story of this rivalry, it also tells you the story of how F1 was back then. It was quite a bit more dangerous. More people died. There are scenes in this movie where, there is a scene in this movie where there's a crash and, you know, someone's died. You know, it's a very deep scene, but I also, you know, it's also good to know about this, to know what F1 was like back then. and yeah, it's very good storytelling, and I like the way they're doing it. They're not just showing the rivalry between these two drivers, they're also showing how F1 was, and also the drivers' personal lives, what it was like for an F1 driver. I really like that part of it as well. So overall, like, it works so well as a movie. And yeah, but the movie's about deaths and the scene's about deaths and stuff, deaths in racing. It's always tragic. It's also interesting to see what the cars looked like back then. You know, obviously different to what they look like now. They look a lot safer now, don't they? But back then the designs were very interesting, to say the least. I really love Niki Lauda's accent in this. The actor smashed it, honestly. It's just really funny to hear him speak, especially when he's angry and he's complaining about something. His accent just makes his words so much funnier. You know, I actually forgot how much explicit content was in this movie. Like, there's quite a bit of nudity and sexual content. I'm just like, whoa, there was that much. It kind of makes sense though, considering the type of man James Hunt was. But you also see scenes of Niki Lauda and stuff. Like, I don't remember it being that much, but there was. That's not why teenage me liked it though. I promise you. It's the racing that got me. Alright. But that was also something else. A very interesting scene is when they have a vote on whether the race should go ahead, because it's like there's bad weather, someone got badly injured in a crash, and they're all the drivers in the room just trying to debate whether the race should go ahead or not, and they hold a vote. It's interesting with scenes like that because you see a debate, you see a bit of back and forth, and you also like see different perspectives on these types of situations. You see one side that thinks we should go ahead, the other side that thinks it's way too dangerous. I just like the points being brought up. It's like both sides in a way have a point. Also, when you actually see races in this, it's just so cool, man. The way it's filmed, I really like it. I kind of wish they had more, to be honest, because some races they just skip to the end and show the winner, but when they actually show the racing properly, it's so good. The way they did Niki Lauda's crash is a great piece of storytelling. Obviously it's a true story anyway, but still, like, they had a debate before the race whether it should go ahead. It's too dangerous, Niki said, but it went ahead. James Hunt swayed the votes, and then Niki crashed and he got serious head injuries. He got burns to his lungs, etc. in 800 degree inferno, something like that he got stuck in. The fact he survived is a miracle, but him fighting for his life in hospital while he was laying there getting treatment, painful treatment, he had the TV on the side with James Hunt winning races. And listening to his rival win races was a driving force in him recovering so quickly and coming back to race in the exact same season. It's crazy. 1976, mate. Look it up. Crazy F1 season. I love what James did to that journalist. Like, someone asked Niki Lauda about his face. He asked a deep question like, how's your marriage going to survive when you look like that? Like, real, like he's got some serious damage on his, permanent damage on his face, and a reporter's just asking that, like, it's out of order. And then a few seconds later, James Hunt beats him up, locks him in the room and just smashes his face in. I don't approve of violence, but, you know, in the sense of the movie and the story, that reporter deserved that on that day. The way they did that last race of the season, where Hunt needed to come a certain position to win and Niki had to do this and that. Regardless, I'm not explaining it very well, but the last race of this championship in 1976, the way they captured it in this movie, so good. So damn good. And the ending is good as well, the conversation that Niki and James had. The ending narration by Niki is just unreal as well. Also, the last conversation they had, I was kind of on Hunt's side, because he was just like, what's the point of winning all these medals and awards if you can't have fun? How is that winning? I really resonated with that. I really did. Like, you can work hard, which is great. Like, working hard is good. Winning, you know, achieving things, it's all good. But if you can't have fun at the end of it, what's the point? You know, you're only here on Earth once. That's not everything that he said, but I'm just adding to it. But yeah, really resonated with me, because Niki was more of a work hard, workhorse. So was James, but James also had a more of a fun side to him. But yeah, great movie. just as good as I remember it when I first watched it, and yeah, definitely worth buying on Blu-ray, as Jeremy Johns would say. Anyway, next up is Ford vs Ferrari, which is not F1, but an incredible racing movie. Alright, it is time for a masterpiece that I love, in glorious 4K Ultra HD, Le Mans 66, aka Ford vs Ferrari. Such a great movie, and I cannot wait to experience this in 4K. Oh yes. To be honest, when I first watched it, I was so into it, like I was so mesmerized by it. Even when I rewatch it, it's the same. So I don't know how much I'm going to talk through this, but yeah, here we go. That corporate guy is such a prick, man. What's his name? BB or something? Was he? I can't remember what his role was. He was in charge of... Was he vice president? In charge of car manufacturing? I can't remember. But you know who I'm talking about. Not Henry Ford, not the owner of Ford, but one of the executives. The one who's a prick. If you've seen the movie, you know who I mean. That BB guy. A real piece of work. Also, as usual, I'm enjoying the movie, you know. The racing is great when it's there. Obviously, it's all it's mainly build up to the main race at the end. But when you see racing, it's great. And also, it delves a lot into family, personal lives of characters, and also how the companies work. Companies, Ford, Ferrari, Fiat, Shelby. It's always very interesting to see that stuff. So you get to see how the company works in a way, and also people's personal lives. They add good elements, and the story, I think, is really good, and it keeps you interested enough. And then when the races come along, you get that payoff, and yeah, it works so well. I like the pacing. I just really enjoy this movie. The last hour is just an epic roller coaster, you know, from the Daytona 500 up until Le Mans 24-hour race. That obviously was the climax of it. The way they filmed it, the way they did it, incredible. And there are some things that are different in real life compared to the movie, but in terms of how the race ends, that actually happened. Like, Ken was ordered to slow down. He had a choice to not slow down, but to slow down to let the other two Fords race with him to the finish. They all finished together, photo finish, great image for the Ford company, like that prick suggested. And it turns out he lost the race. He came second because the other guy started further back. Apparently the winner of the Le Mans races who travels the furthest distance. So it wasn't a tied first place between three people. Mouse came second because the other guy started further back in the field. They effed him over, and then Ken died 2 months after the race. It's sad. He was more like he was a legendary race car driver, and he'd been forgotten. So things like this movie and another documentary that came about, it really, like, you know, made people realize, you know, who he was and what he did for Ford and for motorsports. I'm glad that this movie, you know, showed who he was and how Ford executives sort of effed him over as well, but mainly, you know, to see like how good a racer he was. And I think Christian Bale portrayed him so damn well, and Matt Damon portrayed Shelby really well as well, and John Bernthald's in it, other actors too, even the prick. Great cast, amazing cast of all throughout. Like every character was great, you know, played great, and they told the story really well, and I'm glad it brought more awareness to who Ken Miles was, because he was a great racer, and I'm glad I found out about him through this movie. I wasn't that impressed by the 4K, by the way. Like, the 4K was good, and it was definitely improved, and definitely the best version that I've seen on physical media, aside from, you know, seeing an IMAX. But it didn't, like, you know, mesmerize me as a lot of other 4K movies do. Yeah, with a lot of 4K releases, when I watch them, I'm just like, wow, this is incredible, this improvement is crazy. With this one, I just like, it's better, but yeah, it wasn't like, the 4K wasn't that, you know, that much of a jump for me, at least for me anyway. I guess it's a good looking movie regardless, but still, I just thought I'd mention that, because when I do watch movies in 4K, I tend to comment on how good the 4K is. That's kind of my thing sometimes, so I thought I'd just add that in. But great movie nonetheless. Alright, one more movie, Disney Plus, Cars. Disney Plus on my television, through my television, has Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, and I think it's in 4K as well, so it should look incredible. I haven't seen that many animated 4K stuff, so that should be quite cool. So we'll move on to that. Now that's what I'm talking about. Ultra HD, Dolby Vision, Elite. You know, I sometimes go to this to watch certain clips, just like Guido's Pit Stop. Not ashamed to admit that, this has some great moments, and I look forward to rewatching it in full right now. This movie's soundtrack is so good, man. Life is a Highway is a classic. Absolute classic. I love the parodies of Jay Leno and Arnold Schwarzenegger in this. It's random, but it works, it works. Also, did you know that Harv, you know the guy on the phone in the truck, in Mac's truck, who's his agent, right? Did you know he's played by 2 different people depending on if you live in the US or the UK? The US actor is different, and UK voice actor is Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear. Quite a fun fact. I'm watching the American version because I didn't hear Jeremy Clarkson, so I can't remember who plays the American version, but that's an interesting fact for you. I don't know if there's a 3rd or 4th in other countries, but in the UK it's Jeremy Clarkson. Our Town is a great song as well, man. Long ago, not so very long ago, that song when they talk about when Sally talks about Interstate to Lightning McQueen. It's an emotional song, but also a good song. I love this movie, man. I know it's an animated Pixar kids movie, but Pixar makes some great storylines in many of their movies. And with this, it's about a race car who's really arrogant and not really a good person. And eventually things happen, bad things happen to him, where he ends up in a town with a lot of good people. And he gains these great relationships and friendships with these people. Even though he gets off on the bad, like his first impression was terrible, but he really gains a friendship with them, and he changes as a person, also as a race car driver, as a race car as well. He improves. Like that week with that family of people in this town helped him become a better person and a better racer, and it's just amazing. Sorry, I sounded a bit weird there because I needed to sneeze and holding a sneeze and I was recording that, but you get the point. A guy who was a prick, and he met these people who changed him for the better, made him a better person, and made him better at what he does as well. It's just amazing to see. Another good song in the movie, Get Your Kicks, 166. Also, the start of the movie as well, Real Gone the song is called Real Gone, but the very opening of the movie, great song too. The soundtrack is bloody amazing, mate. It's bloody amazing. When the crowd realizes, and even the other pit crews realize, that Doc Hudson is the Hudson Hornet, it's such a great moment. I'm still waiting for Guido's pit stop though, and also Lightning McQueen drifting. Oh my days, that scene is beautiful, man. Because you see early in the movie, Doc Hudson is drifting on that Radiator Springs track, and then you see Lightning McQueen do it with the same theme song. So good. I cannot wait to see that scene. I want to see that scene right now. Right after Guido's pit stop. Actually, that comes after that, I think. Either way, there's so many great moments in the last race. So those scenes are great, but it's a crazy scene when the King crashes and then McQueen has flashbacks to Doc Hudson's crash. And instead of winning the race, he sacrifices that to help Danica, help the King finish the race. It's just such an amazing, powerful moment. It shows that it's a lot more than about winning. Even though it is about winning, but also there's more to it than that, you know? It's about caring for other people. And that's what I love about this movie, is the message about caring for people, you know? It's good to care about the goals, care about finishing first. Yeah, that's great, but you also got to care for your loved ones and care for people in general, you know? And Lightning McQueen pushing King over that line, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Sometimes you just got to be nice to people, you know? Just got to be nice. I love this movie. I really do. Pixar have made some great movies over the years though. So many great movies, but this is not the best, but it's just so good. I loved it as a kid because it was talking cars, but the more I've watched it, the more I realised the message behind it is the main thing that makes it great, you know. It's emotional, but also enjoyable. They made a classic here, which is why I think, how did they mess up the sequel so badly? How? Anyway, before this movie even ends, I'm just gonna end the video because why not? But you've heard my thoughts on the movie. Favorite of the three is probably Ferrari, followed by Rush. I still love cars, but those first two movies I just absolutely love. And hopefully Rush gets a 4K release. I hope it does. This is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and see you. Oh yeah, like Terminator in a helicopter. That was a great moment too. Anyway, yeah. Goodbye.